Hi Peaches, it's Shaaba. Welcome back to my channel and thank you for clicking on another video. Happy Monday, happy AITA day. If you're new here, this is a weekly segment where we take a look at the subreddit Am I the A-hole? Because it's a little bit of juicy drama, it's a little bit of fun. It helps us expand our own mindsets and also hopefully help a couple other people out along the way. Whether that be the original posters, the OP themselves, or you lovely Peaches who may be able to relate in some way to what someone is going through. Because you know, life can be tough and sometimes we need an outside perspective. But first, speaking of helpful outside perspectives, I want to talk to you about today's paid promotion with PrideCounseling. As we just said, life can be a lot, and if you are an LGBT cutie like me, and you feel like you might benefit from talking to someone about life, then PrideCounseling might be an incredible resource for you. They provide online therapy specifically for the LGBT+ community. I have used them for the longest time, which is why I'm such a big advocate for their service, and honestly, just this past week, I have been tested a lot in my personal life, and I'm not going to make this segment too long, but I have to say I'm really proud of myself and I'm very grateful for my therapist because the tools that I learned definitely stuck. I found myself using phrases that my therapist used and passing them on to other people who were like, wow, that's so profound, and I was like, don't thank me, thank PrideCounseling. All of the therapists on PrideCounseling are LGBT+ friendly, which is personally a huge thing that I don't have to worry about. You just answer a few questions about your needs, you're matched with the right therapist, and if for whatever reason you don't like them, because it's a really personal connection, you know, you can then switch. It's free and easy to change. And you can also choose how you speak to your therapist, whether that be via text, chat, phone, or video call. It is totally up to you. And if you're thinking, gah, this sounds so good, but I just can't quite afford it, just know that PrideCounseling also have financial aid that you can apply for. The details of that and everything else, should you wish to look into PrideCounseling more or sign up, you can find using the link downstairs in the description box, pridecounseling.com/Shaaba. You can also use this beautiful QR code, and either way, if you decide to sign up, you'll get 10% off your first month too. You are very welcome. Right, shall we dive deep into the a-holes and see what they have in store for us today? Let's go fishing for some a-holes. Am I the asshole for calling my half-siblings disgusting for their reaction to our dad for getting my mum, my sister, and me? Well, normally on these posts, we go from a lemon and lime to an extra hot spicy, but this feels like we've got on with Vesuvius level heat. Let's see. My dad has Alzheimer's. And he's being cared for at home by my mum, my younger sister, and I, and my half-siblings. My half-siblings are 30-year-old brother, 28-year-old sister, and my sister's 18, and OP here is a 20-year-old brother. Feeling some kind of way already, and I just need to unpack that because it's a bias that I definitely have. The term half-siblings in the title, and that's othered to mum and sister and me. And then here as well, it's like my half-siblings are this, but my sister is this age. Like there's a lot of disconnect and othering. I have half-sisters and a step-brother, and the only reason I'm using those technical terms now is to explain that sort of like my relatability to it, but they're all just my sisters and my brother. They're siblings. It grates on me when I see this divide because I just don't think blood has to matter with this labelling. So yeah, recognising that bias, but let's go on. My dad was married to my half-sibling's mum when she passed away. They were 4 and 6 at the time. He married my mum 3 years later. For the last 8 to 10 months, my dad has forgotten all about my mum, my sister, and I. This must be so tough. He keeps talking about his first wife and my half-siblings. It has been so tough. My half-siblings are loving it. They've rubbed our noses in the fact that dad talks so much about their mum and how he remembers everything before she got sick. This is tricky. I'm also trying to remind myself that there are 3 sides to every story, yours, theirs, and the truth. So it is entirely possible that they are being very mean about it. It is also entirely possible that you're interpreting it that way. But the reality is they're just feeling some sense of security because they've already lost one mum. They are in the process of losing another parent's cognitive ability, and they're taking reassurance in it, which you are then interpreting as rubbing your nose in it, which might not be the case, but I don't know. They said dad moving his original wedding ring to his other hand, but wearing it alongside the ring from his marriage to mum, and this shows who he really loved. They've also said that dad was writing letters to their mum every year since her death and showed us some. I wonder if OP is using these 2 things here as examples of like, see, they're rubbing my nose in it, and maybe I'm just trying to be forever the optimist and trying to see the like good in everyone. But to me, a dad writing letters to a past widow is totally normal. If I loved someone and had a relationship with someone and had kids with someone and then lost that someone, even if I built a new life, I wouldn't forget about that other person, and the connection and love that I'd feel for the other person would still be there. You can still hold love and actively love someone else alongside. They don't need to be mutually exclusive. The wedding ring thing as well, I'm trying to see this from the dad's point of view. I don't know too much about Alzheimer's, but with my limited knowledge, I am aware that with cognitive decline, where memories really start to fade, especially with things like dementia, which I have like more of a second-hand experience of, people do forget the more recent things first. It's quite ordinary for somebody who has something like dementia to remember their first jobs and think that that is their routine now. Even if that first job hasn't existed for like 50, 60 years, all of the jobs in between just somehow sort of disappear from that realm of memory and sight for them. And I get that it can be really difficult to experience. It's just such a tricky balance to be able to support them and not feel hurt and realise that it's not a personal thing. But is it a personal thing from the siblings? This is what I'm on the fence about. It broke my mum, says OP, because she loves my half-siblings and they found so much joy in taunting her. I lost it the other day when some of my dad's family were visiting and my half-siblings were smirking at us over all the talk of their mum. I told them they were disgusting if they found this so funny, and how could they hate my mum so much to rub it in like they are. They said I was behaving like a brat and that they're allowed to be glad dad loves their mum. Am I the arsehole? Oh my lord. I don't know what's happening to me today. For some reason, my brain has like hooked onto the fact that there is a possibility that OP is misinterpreting and they're just really bad at communication. So we have to change this into two verdicts. At the end there, they said that I'm behaving like a brat and they're allowed to be glad that their dad loves their mum. That is absolutely the case. And as I've said, they've lost one parent already. There's another parent there that is slowly slipping away from them. It is totally normal, even at the age of 30 and 28, that they are feeling solace and reassurance and joy from the fact that their dad is reliving this time with their mum, who they are all clearly still grieving for. And if maybe what OP has interpreted as smirking, they are seeing as just like happy smiley times because they're reliving, and then they happen to look over while smiling. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's sometimes when you're like, oh, I'm adamant they're out to get me, and they're not out to get you, but you can create this narrative that they are out to get you, and then you confronted them and they're like, dude, it's okay to like the fact that dad is reliving memories with our mum. Stop being so bratty. Like, it's an okay feeling to have. That I can understand from the siblings' point of view. And in that case, I don't think there are any arseholes here. I think it's just a very tricky scenario. So that's reality number one. No arseholes here. But the second reality is OP is absolutely reading the situation right, and they are being very goading and are totally misreading the memory loss of Alzheimer's as a intentional eradication of OP's mum from dad, which is clearly not the case. It is never intentional. In which case, you are not the arsehole, and the siblings absolutely are arseholing. What do you think, Peaches? Is it reality one, where there are a lot of emotions running very high, people are clearly not communicating very well, OP's called them disgusting, the other siblings have taken offence to that, and they're just not being sensitive enough to how tricky this must also be for OP's sister, and OP's mum? Or are they being intentionally rude? You let me know your thoughts downstairs in the comments section. Let's see what the rest of the forum have to say. Not the arsehole, but your half-siblings are. It is known that Alzheimer patients forget their latest memories easier and earlier than the older ones. It's got nothing to do with the mother, but just to do with the illness itself. My grandma forgot where she lived for more than 50 years and started to walk to her childhood home a few towns away. My grandpa forgot I was his granddaughter and thought I was my dad's girlfriend when we went to visit once, says someone else. It broke my heart and grossed me out all at the same time. Half-siblings are showing a vile side of themselves. In my opinion, there'd be no coming back from this and they wouldn't be family to me anymore. Wow. I feel like the forum are very headstrong that reality too is a situation in play. Maybe I am just thinking the best of everyone and trying to see things as a misunderstanding. But like with everything, I try not to make assumptions, and I think it's like good practice to just remember that the way we receive messages might not be how they were intended to be delivered. And sometimes they absolutely can be. And so, you know, fool me once, don't fool me twice. You know, this comes into play and there's more digging and direct communication that is required. But I really hope this is a situation that is solvable from just being able to see each other's points of view. Oh, that was very complex and spicy. I find myself wanting maybe a more medium, maybe a mango and lime situation. Let's see what the next post has in store for us. Am I the asshole for preferring to eat the food I actually like? Yes, you are. I'm a 16-year-old woman. I'm a bit of a foodie and a picky eater. Ooh, interesting. Seen foodies and I've seen picky eaters, but I've never known picky eaters to be foodies. I like my food tasty and spicy, like Indian or Thai or sushi. My mother, however, is a pretty bad cook, and the food she makes is completely opposite of what I prefer. Bland and mushy, or all of the casseroles and barely seasoned chicken, burgers, mac and cheese, you know the drill. I do know the drill, I just wanted to say that even those quote-unquote more bland dishes need not be bland. If you are a good cook, mac and cheese is not bland. If you're a good cook, seasoned chicken isn't bland. I hear you though, you can definitely have a preference for more international flavours than the sort of typical Western palate. But like mac and cheese is Caribbean, right? And it's like chef's kiss amazing. And if you had ever gone to my mom's house on Christmas, you know that a roast dinner, like roast turkey, becomes roast tandoori turkey. There's a realm of possibilities with your cooking friends. Even the veggies are either overcooked or completely tasteless. When I was a kid, I was forced to literally just swallow it. But when I was complaining about the food recently, she was all, well, if you don't like my cooking, buy your own ingredients and cook it yourself. And that's exactly what I did. I got a job, I signed up for a home ec class, I watched a bunch of YouTube tutorials, and I started making my own meals the way I actually like. Does your mum also like the more westernized palate? Or is it that she just doesn't like cooking and doesn't want to put effort into it? Or is it that she does like the same palate and foods that you like, she just doesn't know how to do it? In which case, maybe if you guys did that together, that could be so fun. Well-seasoned mac and cheese and grills and roast dinners, and also days where you have curries and fragrant faux and all sorts. I could tell from the get-go that it wasn't what she expected, but after a while I became better at cooking, and my dad and my little siblings noticed and started first asking for some nibbles off of my plate. Recently, Dad just straight up gave me some money and asked me to go and buy some groceries and make him lunches to go. Well, my mum exploded after that. She called me and my dad lots of names, how we were so ungrateful, and she and Dad got into a shouting match over my cooking and how it's not my fault that her cooking sucks. So am I the asshole for cooking for myself and being better at it? No, my love. You are not the asshole for cooking for yourself or being better at it. Your dad is not the asshole for giving money. I'm questioning whether this is a no assholes here. No. We are going to say not the arsehole, because the mum, although she's not an arsehole for not knowing how to cook, and nobody is an arsehole for having their feelings, she has definitely been in the wrong with expressing it in the way that she has. Hear me out. This is textbook psychology, people. Mum is feeling inadequate. The child that she raised, the child that she yearns to care for, the family that she yearns to care for, and I hear you, Shaaba, it is 2023. We do not just serve our families. This is very true. It is a choice though, right? But if you want to, if you are choosing to provide for your family, which this mum absolutely might love doing, I, for example, love cooking for my family, then it can feel really hurtful to be like, babe, you're not good enough, step aside, I'm coming through with my spices. The problem here, though, is that mum has manifested that in anger and hurt and deflected that anger of being like, oh, well, I'm not good enough and I don't know how to be good enough and I'm feeling slightly embarrassed that my family has essentially fired me and chosen someone else to take over this role, when what she should be saying is, hey, family, I am hurting and I am wanting to cook for you. And the fantastic solution there is that this is a great opportunity for family bonding and fun cooking and learning new things and happy memories of being like, oh, mum's a good cook now. Oh, good job, mum. Using that paprika, shaking that cayenne. This could be so sweet. And so on that note, actually, I'm now considering a third badge, which is that everybody sucks here. Because yes, the mum is a tiny bit assholey for expressing her hurt as anger and exploding, because you don't deserve to be on the other end of that. But also, was it really the right move for you to just cook for yourself and not recognise that your mum is being like pushed aside in this way? You are a kid as well, right? Like, teens are not supposed to be thinking of these things, and parents' feelings at 16. I know that at the age of 16 I was not thinking about my parents' feelings as much as I do now. But Dad in particular, you know, could have been like, hey, let's figure something out, as opposed to being like giving you, child, this new job and new responsibility as a 16-year-old as well, you know, like who probably has other things to do than to be cooking lunches for Dad all the time, should have realised the family dynamics and how displaced this would make mum feel. Everybody kind of sucks here, but also there are no arseholes here, and also you're not the arsehole. Take from that what you will. I feel like I'm not playing this game very well today. Normally we have one badge, and in both the scenarios today I have provided multiple badges. I am not sorry. Not the arsehole if her food is bland or mushy. Your mum clearly dislikes food and cooking. It's not for everyone. She's probably doing her best and is now feeling sidelined. I kind of disagree with this. This person is making a big assumption there that because somebody is bad at something, they must dislike something. But if we thought that about everything, nobody would do anything, because we all start bad before we know how to do the thing that we want to do. I'm sounding very cryptic. My point is, we shouldn't just assume that mum doesn't like cooking just because she's bad at cooking. The fact that she's hurt clearly shows that maybe she wanted to do that. Maybe we should just ask mum. Opie's actually responded to this and says, dunno, sometimes I think she genuinely thinks this is what good food should be like. She's a stay-at-home mum, really into the whole traditional wife life, all that shtick. Her whole family is like that. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, everyone eats the blandest American food all the time. Somebody then asked, has your mum tried the food that you cook? If so, what's her reaction? And Opie said she hates it. It's too exotic for her, in her words. Oh, plot twisty. My point still stands though. She still wants to cook good. Salt and pepper is not spicy. It is seasoning. American food food. Doesn't have to be bland. But definitely if she's feeling that your food is too exotic and she doesn't like cooking that and therefore refuses to cook that, that is a problem. That definitely moves more into the realm of you are not the asshole and your mum is being a bit of an asshole for not accommodating that or allowing some kind of compromise, if compromise has been offered. Oh, I feel like we unpacked those two so much we don't actually have time for another one today. Totally fine though, just means that we have more concentrated things to talk about downstairs in the comment section. I did give a verdict on both of them, but it was a bit wishy-washy today. What are your verdicts? What do you think? If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you would like to see more. Please do consider subscribing. It really helps me out. If you haven't seen, I've been introducing some music content, and whenever we do new things here on channels, they don't perform very well because, you know, like algorithms. So I'd be very grateful if you want to, and I will see you next time with another video. Be kind and have a great day. Bye!